everyone, welcome to patch 9.3, the second huge patch since the ranked reset, and the one that is basically going to delete 3 champions, pretty much, maybe 4, and rework all of our crit items. There will be a video out on Friday going over the best build for each AD carry, but I'll have something for you in a second to get you started, and I'll also be testing them on stream right now if you fancy coming over to watch. Let's start with the AD carry stuff, but I'm also going to stick a timestamp down below to get into the champions if you don't care about the good old bot lane. As always though, our new quarterback season has kicked off, and I just wanted to explain something really quickly since people say it takes ages to get your coins. Number one, I run this before every single game. Win or lose doesn't really matter, but in some games I do win the challenges and I get the coins for doing nothing but pressing accept challenge before the game starts. Number two, there is an achievement tab that lets you complete these for coins and are a good way to get some faster. And number three, you can join in raffles as well with others to get awesome rewards, but they're way cheaper. It's more of a risk, but it doesn't cost much. If you aren't a fighter yet over there, then there's a link down below to join up. But basically you run the app before a game, you join a challenge, you play the game, you get your coins, which you can use to buy skins. Let's start with our ADC items, and the first thing is something that Riot has said. Crit users shouldn't feel remarkably stronger or weaker than before, but they're going to once again spike at 2 items. What this screams to me is that we get our early power back, which is nice, right? But if we're not getting overall stronger, then surely to do more damage at 2 items, we have to do less damage in late game build. That is what I'm a little bit worried about with this entire rework. It might feel better to play, but we'll be weaker late game when we're supposed to be good. Now to get you started though, if you're going to play ADC on this patch, if you have a mix of auto and crit damage like a Caitlyn or a Tristana, you probably want to rush your Infinity Edge and then go into a Shiv and a rapid fire cannon to go triple crit items. If you rely a lot on abilities, then grab an Essence Reaver first of all, then rapid fire cannon or Shiv and Infinity Edge third. Storm Razor is not a rush item anymore. It's more of like a 4th item really later to recharge your fleet and rapid fire stuff quicker. There will be more and stuff, but that will get you started. So what is changing then? Well, Infinity Edge to start with, this is the big thing. It increases your crit strike damage again. Instead of partially converting crits to true damage, it grants critical strike chance instead of doubling your crit chance from other sources. So you can instantly rush this item or have no crit before, and it is actually gonna work. That is the major change at least. The idea is that it's not gonna be as good as like the pre-rework one, but it's still pretty basic. You pick up a Shiv after this or something like that, and it's gonna get your crit build online much faster. It's basically replacing the Storm Razor Rush as your go-to now on some champions as well. And if you want to go crit but you don't want a pure AD, then there is also an alternative. Go BF Sword into your Zeal into Infinity Edge for 40% crit chance and some attack speed to back it up. That is really good as well. Cloak of Agility is back as a component now as well. It's 800 gold, 20% crit. Most of you guys will remember this as an item before, and you can actually rush it if you really wanted to. It builds into Infinity Edge and you can RNG the 20% crit chance. Essence Reaver though is brand new, so it now grants critical strike chance, no longer grants mana or essence flare though, but it has the rest of it. Infinity Edge is your first option as a number 1 item, but Essence Reaver is back as another really good choice now that you can pick up straight away. It's got 60 AD, 20% CDR, 25% crit though, which is the really important part. If you have abilities that you want to spam, like a Zyra or a Lucian, but you also want to go into a crit build afterwards, then this is the perfect item for you like it was before. You can now do what we used to do, right? Essence Reaver into Shiv or something like that, and Infinity Edge third, giving you triple crit, but with more of a focus on the burst and AD rather than just attack speed. That is the main thing here to take away. Most crit builds will now have 3 crit items in them to make it worthwhile, and then after that you can go into lifesteal, arm pen, whatever you want. Speaking of crit items, these Zeal ones are basically the same. 25% crit, they're 200 gold cheaper as well, but actually Shiv is getting 5% more attack speed now. The big one that is actually changing is our Phantom Dancer, right? It now grants a shield at lower health, but no longer decreases damage from the last champion you hit, and Spectral Wars, like the kind of passive part, now triggers on attack rather than proximity to an enemy champion. It's actually way down in attack speed, but it is an option if you want to go IE, Shiv, and then like a PD for example to survive third. Still getting triple crit, but you don't die instantly anymore at all. At level 18, this is really good as well. It blocks 600 damage. Compare that to a Mormran Mortius that blocks a 350 magic damage. That is almost double, and that is just magic, whereas this is everything. It's not really something that you want to rush at all. It starts off at 240. It's not that great, but later it will give you more damage in your build than like a Guardian Angel if 600 shield is enough to keep you alive. It's also got that 1 passive back as well. You have that unit pass through. It's no minion block basically, and 7% move speed for 2 seconds after you attack a champion. So overall you lose 15% attack speed, you lose a 12% damage reduction, but you get a shield that shields up to 600 damage. I'm not 100% sure yet, but it's not a terrible trade. Let's move on to our Storm Razor now. So it now amplifies your energized effects and causes them to slow the target, and it no longer grants a guaranteed crit strike after not basic attacking for a few seconds. So the first thing is please don't rush this item anymore. It doesn't make much sense honestly. It now buffs your energized stuff, so like rapid fire, Shiv, and fleet forward, and it could be really good late game. It is more expensive, but it deals 65 extra damage as well, and you slow the target over 1 second. Your other energized effects are 30% more more effective, by the way. So that means you heal more for fleet footwork, you do more damage with your shiv, you even have more range with rapid fire unless they change that from the PvE. So as a pure damage option, think about it like that. Like, I mean pure damage as well. It's got no defense on it. It's actually insane to pick it up with the triple crit build. So Infinity Edge, rapid fire, shiv, storm razor 4th would be nutty damage, but it has no defense and no pen. That is the other part to this as well. Last Whisper is actually pretty good again. The cost has been increased a little bit, but the AD and arm penetration have been doubled. It might not seem like a big deal because nobody buys it, but there is a reason for that. It is a lot better, and we might actually need it now. The point was, a crits would do true damage, right? So nobody would buy arm penetration because it had anti-synergy. It made no sense at all. Now it is back to just physical damage, right? So that means we actually will probably need some arm penetration if we want those crits to go through armor and really hurt late game. I'm going to put the skip timestamp here as well, so if you're just joining us, welcome to the video. But there is a new item, Spear of Sojin, and this is nothing to do with AD carries really. It grants attack damage, health, cooldown reduction, and Awakened Dragon, which is the renamed Essence Flare. I'm not putting it with AD carry items, even though it is just like our old Essence Reaver, because it's not meant for them anymore. It is meant for bruisers like a Riven or a Renekton. If you think about it, the ones who use the Essence Reaver the most now are not really ADCs, right? That's what they've done really, where they put the current Essence Reaver into the new item and added some health. It does give less AD, so it is like the same price but for less AD, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say this is going to be nuts now on the patch like this with stuff like Cleaver and Sterex, since you're not paying for the mana either. Let's move into some champions, because these are really big. So Akali's health regen has been increased to start with, but the Q no longer heals at all, and turrets reveal Akali through a shroud. The W cooldown has also been increased late game. The argument is that you should be able to bully her out of lane and punish her, making her more high risk, high reward, but the issue is healing back the damage at the moment stops that happening. It is kind of true, and the issue now though on this patch 9.3 is going to see a lot of feeding Akali players, because this heal was keeping them alive in the lane phase. The turret changing to see her in shroud is bad as well, obviously, but in my opinion, it's not really that big of an issue. Like, she has so many more good things in her kit at the moment anyway. If you just fight in the lane or like around Baron or anywhere but under tower, actually, it's still extremely strong just as it is anyway. It sounds kind of depressing with this change list, but the entire idea here from Riot as well is that they're going to nerf her into the ground and then slowly give her power back like they did with Zoe a while ago. So she should be pretty bad on this patch. Aatrox is pretty similar actually. We're going to move on to him now. His health regen has been increased because he no longer heals off damage to non-champions. His E, the dash, no longer stores charges, but the cooldown is faster than it previously charged. This probably isn't as bad, but it's going to make you almost relearn how to play him and his combos again, because they're completely different. He can't heal off minions anymore, so he can't sustain lane. Same idea as Akali really. You can't just sit and heal back after a bad trade. The other part is two things though, so making him easier to lock down and beat. He only has one dash now, and if he wastes it, that is it. He can't use it again. The second part is that when he uses Q, he can't use 2 charges of the dash to line up the sweet spots and chase people down. So it should be easier to dodge his big damage, easier to run away from him, which overall should mean that he doesn't get as many kills, doesn't get a big lead out of the lane phase, and isn't coming out as strong. It's not even just the lane phase though. I get the dash is a low cooldown, but you're still going to have that issue sticking to people and chasing them down in team fights as well. One of the biggest ones though is actually Camille's E is no longer going to stun minions or monsters anymore. If you play Camille jungle, this is going to suck for you. They're officially saying that they want Camille to be a top laner now, and they won't balance her for the jungle anymore at all. This means that they're killing it off in this patch with this change, and in future they're going to buff her for top lane and not for the jungle at all. You probably don't really need me to explain this, why it's so bad, but you'll take way more damage in the jungle. You can't control your scuttle anymore, you can't farm as fast, you can't gank as much, you'll be lower health going into a gank anyway. It's just a really bad change for her. So let's look at Irelia. So her health growth and armor have been increased. That's pretty good. Her passive stack cap has been increased though. Stacks grant attack speed instead of damage. Maximum stack bonus grants damage instead of attack speed now. The Q bonus minion damage has been increased. Your W reduces more physical damage, but no longer reduces magic damage. This is pretty bad as well. There are quite a few number changes, but basically there are two things. The first up is her burst at the very start of fights will be worse now with the new passive. It has more stacks and it gives attack speed per stack and only gives more damage at full stack. So if you catch her at the very start, you should be okay. If she doesn't have any stacks to start with and you jump on her then, you'll stand a much better chance to win that fight because she shouldn't be able to burst you down as quickly. The other part though is that she now has a hard counter. Well, she has a lot, AP damage and AP mages. Her W would reduce magic by 40% before, right? But now it's completely gone. So even in her W, AP does full damage. If she dives into a fight and uses it, you can just burst her down basically. If you want to beat her, you pick a Vlad, or I would have said like a Kali or something, but you pick something AP and you burst her down. The last big change is to Cassiopeia. Her Q base damage has been increased late game, ratio has been increased though, but the W damage is reduced late as well, and the cost is increased. It's kind of making her worse, like far away, to encourage you to get closer if you want to smash somebody. They actually reduced the W damage last patch as well, but it is even more now. It's 200 max if they stood in the entire thing, half what it used to be before. I'm really surprised they also whacked through some Q damage changes as well though. It's 40 less base, even with a better AP ratio. It means in the lane phase, and if you're maxing it first, you really feel the damage drop off. We've got 3 small changes now to cap off the video. Lissandra's Q cost is going to be increased late game, and also her E damage has been decreased late. Riot actually said this in the patch notes. So much of her status as a dominant mid lane comes from her ability to push into the enemy turret quickly at low cost and then constantly roam. I genuinely don't think that is true at all. Like, partially sure, but I think it's because when she jumps into a fight or a trade, she procs Aftershock, gets a ton of armor, magic resist, takes no damage, and still blows you up. Either way, if I'm wrong, alright, a high mana cost on her Q, which is a wave clear and poke, plus 40 less damage on her E, which again should limit her wave clear more than anything else. I would still genuinely expect her to be good though, because the keystone is nuts on Lissandra. Moving on to Sion, his Q damage has been decreased and W cooldown increased early, and the Q damage is pretty straightforward. His shield cooldown going up means that once he has used it, you have longer to trade with him before he can block damage again. That's basically it. This is giving you a bigger window to fight and trade against him, considering he's probably one of the best lane tanks, or one of them anyway. Last up then is Zyra's plant damage has been decreased. It's pretty harsh, to be honest. It's not huge damage off, but it's going to be per attack and per plant, so it will definitely add up. I'm guessing that's even more when they're frenzied on her ultimate as well, like the super plants, but basically her spells still really hurt. The plants won't though. So that is going to wrap up the patch. Thank you all for watching the video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Come and check out the stream if you want to see me testing some of the new AD builds, but for now, I will leave you with the robots.